Hi, we're calling the select board meeting for January 3rd, oh my goodness, 2022 to order. We are meeting over Zoom because of the ongoing COVID crisis and governor's executive orders. I can read the starting announcement, which is meetings of this Berlin Select Board are generally recorded for transmission on both the Berlin Cable Television Access Channel and YouTube. Your voice, image, and or telephone number may be recorded. And that is my clock being 2 minutes late, chiming behind me.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate that.
No problem.
All right. So Margaret,
Yeah.
do we have any announcements? No, we just had an announcement. Never mind. I'm all confused. All right. Approval of minutes, December 27, open session.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
Perfect. All right. Now, Margaret, now you're up. Any correspondence?
I have two items to mention. First of all, I received an email from Susan Henry over the weekend. She was mentioning the possible value in designating board liaisons to the school committee. She noted that this board has a liaison for various appointed boards and committees, and she was looking for thoughts on establishing a liaison to the school committee. So I said that I would bring this to your attention, and I will certainly forward you the email as well. The other piece of correspondence that I wanted to mention is that we have a very, very large public records request that has, potential large public records request that has come in via email. And this could be a very, very time consuming job, especially where, with the release of historic emails. So this is something that we'd need to engage our IT consultant on. So I just wanted to give you an update on that, and I'm happy to keep you updated as we move forward.
All right. So general public comment. I know that we have a few folks in the audience. Again, if you have something, please raise your hand. If not, we will skip down to our next item, which is Eric. So, nope, see nothing. So we'll keep scooting with the agenda. So next up is our police chief, Eric Shartner. Come on down. You're next up on the select board meeting of 2022.
All right, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Yep.
How are you, Eric? Happy New Year.
Good. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. So I included November and December because we are now into January. So I did 2 months for you. The month of November, the department handled 806 calls for service, 18 cases involving criminal charges, 18 motor vehicle crashes with 7 of them having injuries. There was a total of 111 motor vehicle stops with 103 citations issued. Month of December was a little bit quieter on our call end at 626, 14 cases involving criminal charges, 11 motor vehicle crashes with 7 injuries. Although our crashes were down, it seemed the injuries were the same. We went up with the motor vehicle stops at 150, but we went down with citations at 86. The detective has been busy for the month of December. It actually started right after Thanksgiving for that weekend, running some larceny cases. They've all been pretty substantial in nature. 2 of the cases involved shoplifting at Cabela's, and it did include also ammunition as well. Fortunately, I can say that within 48 hours, we got all items back, and we had the person identified pretty much immediately. So we were very satisfied with that. There are going to be criminal complaints sought against that individual. And then, once again, for the last couple of months, we've been active in assisting families with mental health issues and situations that have required a bit of our time over the last couple of months. I've been in discussions with Victoria. Fortunately, we now have her on staff, which is fantastic. We're just trying to work kind of like try to get an understanding of how we're going to work together. I signed 2 officers up to go to crisis training that will also be like our liaisons with Victoria. So I'm actually looking forward to that. That's going to probably take one officer going the end of January and one officer going the beginning of March. So hopefully by April we'll have a kind of a policy set with Victoria to utilize our services. On the plus side, the speed signs have started to go up. I'm not sure if you noticed them. There's one on Highland Street near Carter, and there's obviously one in the center of town. So I got 2 up. I got one sitting right in front of me in the office, ready to go up tomorrow morning. The 4th one has to go back to the manufacturer because they wired it backwards for the power. So when we plugged it in, we got a little bit of an arc and they want it back. So we'll have 3 signs up by tomorrow. Obviously with the assistance of the DPW, which is fantastic. Those guys are rock stars over there. It definitely wasn't an easy task to get them together or assemble them and obviously install them. So on the flip side, last spring, the town appropriated funds for a new cruiser. We were told by the dealer that we ordered the cruiser from, it wasn't in yet. We started calling in September and they just said it wasn't in. By the time Thanksgiving came, I was a little frustrated and I talked to the salesman who said he would look into it. Come to find out our car has been in since September. But the business that we bought the car from or did the sales quote from changed over management as well as sales staff. So they did their best to find the car. The same quote now with inflation was about just a little shy of $1,300 more than what was quoted, what was appropriated. I've spoken with Margaret and June about that, and that will have to come out of our budget for the cost difference. We did cut some equipment out. We did transfer some equipment from the old car. We're going to transfer some in, but unfortunately the old style does not retrofit into the new style of the cars. So that's about it.
So we ordered the car on time on a quote that they provided. They
Correct.
Lost the car for several months and charged us $1,300 for the inconvenience of them for losing our car.
Well,
with a change of dealership in between.
Yeah, and believe me, I've spoken with Margaret about this. I have reached out. There's one other vendor we can buy the car from. I called them the same.
I just usually when I sign a contract with a vendor, if they're delayed at getting me the product that I signed a contract for, that doesn't change the price because they delayed in providing the product.
Yeah.
Do we not have a signed contract for the set dollar amount?
The only time when you sign your contract is the day you buy it. Our quote was good until the end of September. It was merely they ordered it on a handshake and a quote. And it was
I don't think it was a handshake. I do think there was a quote.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quote. Right. They ordered on a quote.
I get where you're going.
And and the biggest issue we have, there's 2 companies we can buy the cars from.
Yep.
Them outfitted. The other company has failed to call me back after 3 phone calls.
Yep.
Asking to speak with a salesperson. So, it's unfortunately, pre-COVID, I would go down to the dealership. There'd be 7, 8 salespeople. Now there's 2. You could talk to a manager. Now there's no manager because they're waiting to hire a manager. Every dealership is in limbo right now.
Well, and car purchases are horrible in general right now too. And so,
yeah.
I mean, I don't want to hold any of this up because I fear if we held this up and fought it, the 1,300 would become 3,000 in another 6 weeks. So
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that is correct. So
oh no, it wouldn't, because we'd be fighting that one.
I know.
really fighting it.
I know.
Yeah.
We tried to buy a car here for our nephew, and I think between the morning when he test drove it and the afternoon when he went to buy it, the price went up a couple thousand. So I've seen that happen in shorter periods of time.
Yeah. So I'm pretty. It's not as bad as I thought it could have been. The only thing we're waiting for now is I ordered the lights. The lights are 10 weeks out. So I think Margaret and I figured out, I think it's around February 21st, our car will be in. That typically would be in July or August. We'll get it in February. But I did actually ask them, because I know through capital planning, we're going to have to replace another car next year. It's 24 to 26 weeks from the day you ask for a car before it will get delivered. So I did talk to the salesman. The dealership has agreed to order a gray car, which is not a common car. So they're going to put one on their list, non-committed to Berlin, but they will have one in stock in July and August for, you know, if we actually do get the approval at Springtown meeting for a hybrid cruiser.
Worst case scenario, we appropriate the money in May and we plan on having delivery in December, you know, 6 months out.
Yeah. The issue, you know, there's plenty of gray cruisers there. They're just not hybrid, or they're XLTs and they start at 56,000, not 38,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, going forward, Eric, when you order the new car and you get a quote for lights and all other fun things that need to go inside the car, is there any way that you could put in there, you know, to Scott's point, because that was my thing. This wasn't our fault. That, you know, if the car is, if they have the car and they realize that they've had the car sitting in the lot somewhere and time has gone by, that they're still going to hold true to their quote, and they're not going to come back and say, oh, sorry, yeah, it was our fault, but you know what, $20, you got $20, we'll give you the car for an extra $20.
Yeah, so the car itself we're getting for the same price. It's the equipment that's going into the car.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. To Scott's point, they had the car, they sat on it. So is there any way that you can say, you know, when comes time to order a new car, that when we order it and they have found that they've had it, but hadn't notified us, that their quote now extends to when they give us the car, that it doesn't have an expiration date. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so typically, you know, I've been doing this, I've been in the business of ordering and purchasing cars for probably 4 years, being part of the assembly of all our cruisers. And this is the first time ever we've actually run into this.
This is the first time ever we've had COVID and the massive supply chain issues that we've had probably in the last.
So, you know, I mean, last year with COVID, you know, we anticipated the extra delay, and that was October. You know, we had our cruiser in October. Little did I know I'd have to chase down the dealership to actually get a car that was sitting on their lot. So, and it's not like it's a desirable car that other departments would buy, because not too many departments buy gray hybrids, especially a cruiser package.
Scott, Chris, do you have any other questions for Eric?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
Yeah.
So I did a few.
So for capital planning, I was able to get our next cruiser within $169 of this year's price. You know, I think the light company Federal was more than accommodating, and pretty much promised that we would get the same light package without much of an increase. That $169 is just the price between a 21 and a 22 car itself.
So speaking of our friend, the COVID, Eric, could you go over with us, and for those who are listening and potentially watching on playback, so as officers swap cars between shifts, what's the protocol that you use to clean them?
The cars, the officers have to wipe down the car between every shift, and we have one of those, I call it the green machine, that you can spray the inside of your cruiser with, you know, as well as we do the station actually probably twice a day as well.
Okay. Has your process changed? I know when COVID was really, really bad.
No, we've actually been back since probably May or June of this year, back to 100%. I mean, with the mobile data terminals, usually we already know who's driving, or we have a picture of the person. So we'll just confirm it's the person. We don't really need paperwork. I know I personally don't ask for the paperwork anymore, especially if it's the registered owner and I already identify them through the picture on the computer. But unfortunately, obviously, if we don't know who's driving, they do have to hand us their license. Okay.
All right. Well, I mean, obviously, we want to make sure that your team is safe, and you know, that they've got masks on and taking care of folks as, you know, the folks that they're stopping, because you don't know in the car if somebody's vaccinated, not vaccinated, kind of, sort of, not really. So just wanted to make sure that the folks in town knew that you guys were doing all that you can to stay safe and keep each other safe too.
Yeah. Hand sanitizer and mask are, I think, the past, the future, the present, and the future. So
is it, you know, you got a bottle of hand sanitizer in the car, and then you got a bottle of hand lotion because everyone's hands are starting to turn white because of all
we were pretty fortunate. Somebody gave us at the onset, a couple of cases of lemon hand sanitizer that actually moisturized your hands at the same time. So we're not running into that issue yet.
Nice. All right. Lemony fresh. It's like pledge. Lemony fresh. Okay. All right. Well, I'm out of questions. That was mine. Yes, Miss Margaret.
Well, no, I just wanted to mention to Eric that the board's going to be talking tonight about COVID protocols. And I was wondering, Eric, if you don't have any upcoming trainings in the training room, correct?
No, actually, I just spoke with a person who wants to do training. I pushed them off till June. Good.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, because I was going to recommend that we just close off town office rooms to groups temporarily during this little surge we're having. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. That's why, like I said, the gentleman wanted to do a class, and I said, how does late May, early June sound? So
good. Okay, excellent. That's all
awesome.
I have.
All right. Well, we thank you, Eric. Appreciate you taking care of the town, taking care of each other, and you guys stay safe out there.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks,
have a good night.
Have a good night, Eric.
All right. Ms. Nardowitz, you are up next for our town administrator report.
Okay, let me run through my bulleted items here. Neshoba Valley Regional Dispatch District. There are some changes going on. There is a new executive director, Ann Camaro, and I am planning on inviting her to an upcoming select board meeting to meet the board. She comes from the city of Cambridge as deputy communications director, so she has got a lot of experience under her belt, and she is ready to roll. I do have to ask, Chris Keefe is the alternate to the admin board. And during my leave, I just ask Chris, I'll keep you posted on admin board meetings, and I'll just ask Chris to attend in my absence. The Collins Center, through the state 911 department, is conducting an operational study of the dispatch district. This is going to be extremely valuable for Ann as she comes in and runs the center. It's also going to be extremely valuable with respect to potentially adding additional towns to the district. We are going to be losing the town of Townsend. We had a conversation with State 911 the other day. State 911 has committed to the remaining towns in the district that there will be no impact to the member towns assessments, because we should not be punished in any way, shape, or form for the departure of a single town. So I will keep you posted on that. Last week, we just received our quarterly local options rooms tax. Our quarterly distribution this time was $79,899. I have uploaded an FY19 to FY22 to date spreadsheet in the new business folder tonight, along with the working budget document, just so you could see the history on both meals and rooms. We're going to be posting the combined full-time custodian laborer driver job ad, or it's posted today, and I'm uploading it to Indeed tomorrow. Hopefully we get some applicants for that position. There's also a vacancy in the administrative assessor's position in the assessor's office with Rose Pierce's December retirement. She just retired, and I would assume that the assessors are going to be preparing to advertise to fill that vacancy in the near future. A reminder that Representative Kilcoyne and Senator Cronin will be at the board's meeting next week at 7:20 p.m. to discuss some legislative updates with the board. And this is also going to be an opportunity for the board to discuss Berlin's needs with our legislators. The administrative finance team, or I know Dennis and June at least, are here tonight for the board's initial discussion on the DLS financial management review later tonight. Hopefully you've all had a chance to look at it, as well as the written comments I provided on behalf of the AFT. We're going to be meeting, our team is going to be meeting with the board next Monday to discuss ARPA funding. we'll probably discuss the financial management review a little bit too, but particularly the ARPA funding, and specifically, we're going to bring a recommended draft policy and plan on use of the town's ARPA funds. So we will be sharing a lot of information with the board next week on those updates. I'm meeting with a few department heads this week to discuss their FY23 budget requests and recommended options to the requests that they submitted. These are a couple of larger increase requests, and I have some ideas to mitigate those. I'm reviewing the proposal that we received from MRI for the Advanced Life Support Study. And this was the only proposal that we received prior to the deadline. And it is within the appropriation, but I want to be sure that it meets all the requirements of the request for quotes. And I have a loaded calendar this week with meetings. Tomorrow we have a Riverbridge working group meeting with the Sennies at noon. Tomorrow afternoon, we have a meeting with the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Coordinator for our region to discuss an expression of interest for funding on the Laura property. And then tomorrow afternoon, the state is now reinstituting COVID public health calls, statewide calls, so I'll be on that. And AFT is meeting on Wednesday, Finance Wednesday night, and Capital Planning on Thursday night. And that's it for me for now.
Scott, any questions?
Nope.
Not at the moment. When we get into the recommendations on the administrative finance stuff, I'm sure there'll be more discussion.
So Margaret, one quick question. You mentioned that you're meeting with the Sennies tomorrow for Riverbridge. Yes. Have they given you any indication that they're coming prepared or not with a payment plan for their, what is it, 160 that they owe us?
I spoke with Matt today. Matt actually called today. I spoke with him. He said that Chris is going to come prepared to speak to the payment plan, proposed payment plan. So I don't know exactly what that means, but that's going to be our first item of business.
Cool. All right. Well, definitely look forward next week for an update on that from you. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. So moving down into old business. First up on the agenda is the amendment of the Berlin Annual Town Report Policy and Procedure, one that we had approved back in September 8th of 2020.
Hopefully you've all had a chance to look through the changes. And, you know, I think it's a nice, concise policy and procedure, and that's always a good thing. So, because more chance that people will read it. So unless there are any additional comments, questions, I recommend that the board approve the updates that have been made to this.
Scott, Chris, questions?
No, I think there's good question. I thought it looked good. It's very concise. Mm-hmm. I think we should try to beat the March 31st deadline, but I don't want to change the policy to say that we're going to beat it. So,
yeah, I mean, I would just say that I know this is the right thing to do for the town, but I'm going to be personally disappointed when I don't have an annual town report in my mail every year. Because I've appreciated this small perk in our town, and I think it may have helped maybe some residents get engaged in the town government too, people that don't go online. And I honestly don't like reading something that's extensive on a computer. So I'll have to make sure that I can get mine to get my hands on.
Yes, there will still be hard copies available, not mailed generally, but there will still be hard copies available at, I don't know, we listed several places where they're going to be available, and we'll make sure folks know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, I guess, is getting the word out. We have a tough time sometimes getting the word out that, you know, now's the time and this is the place to pick up your annual town report.
I think without the budget and warrant articles in it, it's not necessarily as time sensitive as it used to be. And that we could potentially, even in the tax bills, include notes of where you can go pick them up.
Yeah,
Well,
which
and
I don't,
then,
just still doesn't get to renters, but.
right. I mean, but we'll wait for feedback. You know, who knows? I mean, you know, we could be sitting here in a few months. It's like, nope, this didn't work. You know, can you try? Can you try? But, you know, definitely let's give it a go and see what happens. And Chris, if you want, I can go get one and then, you know, like throw it in your mailbox for you. So that, you know, again.
You'd have to put it in my P.O. box. I don't think you
All
can
right.
do that.
Right.
Or I could just stand at the end of your driveway, you know, and when you go by, I could just throw it at your
You
car.
whip it at me.
Absolutely.
So I just want to note, and I know we have a limited audience here tonight, but I just want to note the places that the hard copy will be available. They'll be available at the town offices, Berlin Public Library, and at the annual town meeting. So for folks that go to the annual town meeting, to be able to pick it up there as well. So, and we can make it available in additional places beyond what's specified in the bylaw.
Well, it's kind of like the testing kits that we're talking about distributing. And so there are some people who aren't going to be able to get out to, and then what do? We, you know, they probably would just lose out unless they can contact someone to go pick it up for them.
Yeah, and we can talk a little more about that. I think that's going to be part of the plan, where there's actually going to be some drop-offs too, similar to what Victoria had coordinated for. Oh, we're getting off topic. I'm sorry.
I know.
But yeah, but we'll make that part of the plan.
Just getting the word out. It's really tough sometimes. We'll have to use all of our, all of the different areas that we have to communicate with people.
Absolutely. All right. Well, no more comments and questions. Motion on this?
I motion to approve the revised, I closed it. The annual town report policies and procedure.
I'll second it.
All right. Motion and a second. Stone eye.
Hawkins eye.
All right. I'll make it unanimous.
Oh.
I'm just disappointed.
No, I know, but Chris, you know what? I mean, you know, keep a list, and as you talk to other folks, you know, let's see how this goes. But you know, let's definitely try it because that's what people wanted. So if it doesn't work and we can figure out a plan B or C, well, then we'll go that way. But you know,
and I think we wrote the bylaw so that it allowed us to do this, but did not require us to do it separately, that we would still be allowed to mail it to town residents if we so chose. So it's just not required. So
it might be nice even to have like an opt-out, like I don't want it sent to me, you know, and then it would be a lot less of a mailing. But, you know, whatever, we'll see how it goes.
Okay. All right. So we have approval on that. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so Margaret, I know that we started to talk about this, the discussion of COVID-19 safety regulations to be implemented by the Berlin Board of Health in regard to town buildings, meeting, training rooms, rules and restrictions.
So the Board of Health's mask order or mask requirement is going to require masks in all Town of Berlin municipal buildings. I ask that the select board further support that through a statement or a consensus that the town office meeting rooms and public safety training room will be closed to groups until further notice, till the surge is over. Just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Okay, forget it. That's it. I just ask that you support that. We can talk about the contingency line item request to fund the test kits in a moment if you'd like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I would make a motion to support Margaret's recommendation.
I will second to allow discussion to happen.
All right. So further discussion on this?
So the policies in our folder does not contain any exemptions. Any exemptions for it?
Not for medical exemptions. So
right.
The town
I saw the town council said I provided some potential language, but also pointed out some problems with having the language. She included a letter from the ACLU that is not thrilled with mask mandates from a legislative standpoint, where it has penalties and fines. Right. I've also, separate from those, of course, you can find online opinions from relatively relatively restrictive that say you can because it's a public health emergency. Sort of some of the ADA stuff is not as relevant. And so I'm sure we could find lawyers who could argue on either side of that if they really wanted to.
I don't envision us asking for medical certificates or requiring a proof of the test prior to coming into town buildings. However, it's important to keep in mind that this is an expectation. You know, we've already been through one round of COVID over the past couple of years, and we've had a mask. We've had a mask requirement in place since May again of this year. So this is no different. This is just memorializing and saying, hey, look, folks, you know, this is an expectation we have. Please, you know, care for yourself and each other by wearing a mask when you're around other people.
And I totally support that because I believe people should be wearing masks. I'm now up to wearing a KN95 or better mask anytime I'm out in public. And so my concerns more legally and less sort of everyone should be wearing a mask. Like, it would be great if we didn't need these type of things, that people would just do the right thing and help us sort of cut back the pandemic. And so, we raised to the Board of Health about some sort of exemption. It doesn't look like they included it. I'm assuming that they are closer to the issue than I am, and I am perfectly fine supporting the Board of Health.
The draft that you have in your packet is their initial draft, and that preceded town council's recommendation to include something about the medical exemption. So I'll touch base with Paul, the chair, tomorrow, and see if they're all set with that.
And so are we going to, this is not then ready for a vote in its current language? Or are we just going to a vote that we're generally still supportive of where the Board of Health?
That's all it is. This regulation is the Board of Health's regulation. I'm just asking the board to memorialize its support for the regulation and the pause in groups in meeting rooms and the training room at the town offices.
You want a motion for that?
Yes. So moved.
And I will second that. Will gladly support the Board of Health whether or not they include a medical exemption.
I would memorialize the amendment, or the regulations that the Board of Health has put forward. In addition to that, I would like to not only have people wear masks, but get a vaccine.
I know, but unfortunately personal choice. So
yeah.
Okay. All right. Motion in a second. Stone eye.
Hawkins eye.
Keefe eye.
All right.
Just pointing out, you do not have a personal choice to drive drunk. And so there are things you need to be doing for public health things.
Yes.
I get it.
Every person who gets COVID is another chance for epsilon variant, because it can vary every time it gets into somebody, has a chance to mutate. So
yeah, I know. I know. All right. What else you got for us there?
Okay, so this is the contingency line item piece. So the Board of Health has voted to look into purchasing the COVID at-home antigen tests. So they have some money. They have $5,560.06 in their public health emergency response account that they could apply toward the purchase of test kits. I reached out to several vendors on state bid today, and I think I shared one of the responses with you, and we're looking at a cost of approximately $44,080 for however many kits this was.
2,320.
Thank you. And so it would be that cost minus the complete balance in the Board of Health's public health emergency response account to purchase that number of test kits. And those test kits do include 2 tests per kit. Now, if the board does choose to vote approval to use the contingency line item for this, and this is a perfectly legitimate expenditure under COVID, I would ask that you put a contingency on it that this would be in accordance with the distribution plan to be adopted by the Board of Health, Fire and EMS Chief, and Council on Aging Director.
Margaret, if this is COVID related, I know you guys are tracking like all the COVID related expenses. Is this money that we could get back?
No, well, no, actually, no, it's not money that we could get back. This is the ARPA funds could potentially be used for this, but that would take away from any other, items that you might want to use ARPA for, but we can discuss that further. The coronavirus relief funds that used to be available to us closed out in December. That's it. They're gone. Right. So good timing, right?
Absolutely, of course.
Just before the Omicron variant. Okay. So I ask for the board's support for this funding from the contingency line item under the COVID qualified funding. And again, contingent on a distribution plan being established by those three entities.
I'm fine with that. I would make that motion.
And I'll second it.
I realized after I said the sentence, I got to be a little clear about that. But yes,
yeah,
I will make.
I'm not going to repeat all that either. So yeah, I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Margaret, thank you for keeping all of us straight on this. Stone eye.
Hawkins eye.
Keith eye.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to put your electronic signatures on this because this is an internal document and this will expedite getting it to the finance committee for Wednesday night.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Margaret, anything else on COVID that we need to chat about?
The number of positive cases of COVID in Berlin, reported positive cases, has tripled in the past 2 weeks. So, and not that it's a huge number, but last week it was 31. Week prior to that, it was 12, roughly. So
I know. I think
there was an article that I was reading too that said, that some of the numbers potentially are lowballed because if people are taking the at-home tests and they realize that they're positive, they're not telling anybody. Nope. They're being smart, they're staying away, they're staying home, they're, secluded in a room, they're not reporting it. Right. So is potentially that number higher, but
oh yes, absolutely, without a doubt, without a doubt.
I just heard on the news that the numbers are up 200% since 2 weeks ago for the nation.
Fabulous.
And something like 900% up in Florida. So, yeah. Okay.
Yes, it is I can tell you it is a staffing and keeping things going nightmare in places.
Oh, I'm absolutely sure. I have no doubt. All right.
Including in the healthcare industry.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. They are the true heroes, all those folks that are there.
Yeah.
So up next is and Chris, this is for you, Mabel Felton Marble Scholarship Award. We always seem to leave off that last part of the name.
Just remember that this is a relation to David Marble.
Oh.
Mabel
that helps a little
Marble. Bit. Okay.
All right. So have we, maybe I've missed it, have we heard anything back from the family on that? Mary's shaking her head no. Okay. All right. Can we reach out maybe one more time and check? I'm hoping that they'll say yes or give us approval going forward that when, a recipient has to come out for medical reasons, but is definitely turning back around and just going to a closer college, they'll let us. And we had our first grades were passed in by one of the recipients. So I looked it over and I'm like, A's and B's, God love her. So definitely keep up the good work, Caitlin, and much wished success in your academic journey and beyond. All right. So next up, Margaret, you had given us a recommendation in writing late last week, I don't even remember, maybe earlier this week, on the recommendation for the town clerk and town accountant based on the report from personnel.
Yes. Okay. So personnel, let's see do we have anybody from personnel here? We don't have anybody from personnel here. Oh my goodness, though. My sister is here from Virginia. I don't know.
Come on, wow,
Mariana.
Oh my gosh. Mariana is my sister.
Hi, Mariana.
Hi, Mariana.
Don't tell me she's raising her hand. Oh my God. Go ahead, Mariana, say hi. Okay.
Yeah, she just waved to say hi.
All right, so
because now she's putting faces to all the stories that Margaret tells her
There you
about
go.
us. So
There you
go.
All right, so Personnel Committee. All right, so the Personnel Committee voted unanimously on Wednesday night to support the recommendation on the town clerk and town accountant market wage adjustments. And I sent an additional report to the select board outlining the Personnel Committee's comments on supporting the recommendation. So those are the Personnel Committee's comments on that. However, today I learned that, and I've never, in my 30 some whatever years of doing this, I've never approached the change of or I've never broached the change of an elected official's salary mid-year. So I did learn today that the statute does prevent the change in salary or compensation of elected officials outside of the annual town meeting. It could only be done at a special town meeting if the tax rate hasn't been set yet. So there's no ability this fiscal year to provide the salary adjustment to Eloise, despite my prior recommendation. And I feel strongly that the adjustment needs to be made for both of the positions. But I stand firmly behind my recommendation on both of these positions. However, I think for these two positions, what I would like to do at this time is amend my recommendation that the market adjustments for these two positions become effective on July 1, 2022, subject to appropriation. This would allow both of the positions to receive the compensation that I believe is warranted, and to be able to start with a vote at the annual town meeting, allowing this to happen for the elected official.
All right, comments or questions on this?
I would support that motion, Margaret's recommendation.
And then Margaret, your original recommendation was to the numbers in the document, and then getting the same 2% that we're giving everyone else as of July 1st. And so I just want to make sure that we put the right request in when we do this for July 1st.
That's correct. So what I would suggest doing is putting in the rates that I did show in my original recommendation. Those rates would be, or the salaries would be based on those rates that are already in there. Yes.
Okay. I will second.
Right. I had a list of things to talk about, but seeing that we have a motion and a second of approval, and I'm going to sneeze, so forgive me going forward. Stone, aye.
Hawkins, aye.
Heath, aye.
All right.
Thank you
so much. I appreciate that. All right. Next up, Margaret, I know you wanted to talk to us about a request of a designation for a temporary administrator and staffing coverage plan while you are out.
Yes. So I know this is a potential HIPAA issue, but I think that it's important for folks to know that it's not my choice. It's not my choice that I'm going to be out. But I do have I was diagnosed with breast cancer. The board I know is aware of this, and I am going to have to be going out for treatment. I anticipate having to be out of the office for 6 weeks. My hope is that I am only out of commission entirely for the first few of those weeks. So I've put together a plan that I'd ask the board to approve. First, that Mary, the administrative assistant to the town administrator, I'm going to be asking her to be sure to provide office coverage for our regular office hours of 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. She's going to be busy with the preparation of the 2021 annual report. So I assume that's going to be a project that keeps her busy during this period of time. I've also asked her to please sign and submit bill schedules charged to the, or invoices charged to the Select Board, Town Administrator, Data Systems, and ARPA funding, and any other special accounts under the board's or my jurisdiction. So I'm giving her signing authorization on those items. I would like to designate Town Accountant June Poland. Oh, I'm sorry. The second item is weekly payroll and bill warrants. Typically I sign these, not typically, I sign these every week. I am asking that 2 members of the Select Board sign the warrants in my absence. They're usually available by Monday afternoon. So Monday afternoon, Monday evening, it does require a majority of the board to sign. Third, temporary administrator, I am actually going to designate, with the board's approval, June Poland, town accountant, as temporary administrator to perform the day-to-day administrative oversight and address emergency matters in accordance with the Select Board Town Administrator Act. I ask that the board approve special temporary compensation for her of $50 an hour for the hours that she has to exercise temporary administrative responsibilities in my absence during my treatment. Let's see. And this recommendation, or this request that I've submitted to the board, does constitute the written request or written designation that's required by the Act. The fourth item is accounting support. Because June is going to be picking up additional functions that she normally wouldn't have to do, Amy Grenier, the accounting clerk, has been assisting highway and facilities for 5 hours a week. I am asking that during this temporary absence that she actually come back to serve the additional 5 hours a week in the accounting office to backfill, to assure consistency in the financial operations or continuity of the financial operations. And that while I'm gone, Board of Health Clerk Donna Traylor be assigned to assist with highways and facilities for that 5 hours a week for those basic administrative support duties. This will allow consistency in that department as well. All totaled, and this is based on a maximum amount of leave, and I hope it's less than this, but temporary administrator special compensation, just over $3,000. That would be for a full 8-week period. Again, I don't expect it, but I just don't know what to expect. Accounting clerk, about a little over $850. And administrative support to highway and facilities, $783.20. And the proposed funding sources are noted on the this proposal and designation form.
Margaret.
Well, that's it. That's it in a nutshell. 2 pages,
Margaret.
just like that.
I know. I want you to know that you
Don't.
You need to no. You need to take care of you, and whatever time you need, take it. Don't rush back. You know, kiddingly, I've said to you when you go on vacation that Scott and I and Chris haven't burned the town down yet. And I don't see us burning the town down with you not around. We need you back and we need you healthy. And I told you that I would penny shut your door if you try to come back earlier than what you need to. And I'm a woman of my word, and I will penny shut that door so that you can't get in. So you have to stay home. We will take care of everything that you need. The one thing that we can't take care of is you. And that is totally in your control, and your husband's control, and your dog's control, and your sister who is listening. So, you know what? You take care of you.
Yep.
We got you. I have said that to you all along. I mean it.
Well, the other thing is that if we haven't thought of something that you need for us to do, all you have to do is ask.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yep. And we will meet you. If you forget a document, if you forget a folder, you let us know, and one of us will be buzzing down Route 2 and finding our way to Deerfield and stopping off at Yankee Candle and, you know, picking up a few things.
There you go.
And then,
There are other things you can do.
there are other things that we can do in Deerfield besides Yankee Candle.
Okay.
And come back. But
All right.
no,
I know the town. I know the town will be in good hands. Like I said, I was talking to Peg the other day, and the old habits are hard to break. This is many years in the making, so it's not easy. Not easy to back off. Not easy to back off. So
I know.
But we got you and June's here, and Amy, and
I was gonna say,
the entire town will support you, Margaret. And I'm sure if we ended up needing help and we asked, that there would be an overflow of that support. So take that and stay home, Margaret.
Yes,
stay home.
Okay. So
you've put together a good plan, because you're good at your job and you figured out a good plan. We will get through. It's not a plan I'd want to live on for 5 or 10 years, but we will easily get through 8 weeks with this, and it'll give you the time you'll need to be here for us and yourself at the end of it.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. I expect to have to start working remotely beginning on the week of the 18th. So I am trying to wrap up things in the office right now, but doctors ordered me to quarantine, surprise, surprise. So that has to come. So
if there's anything you need us to do at your apartment in Clinton, let us know.
You can come here and work quietly. Sure. Quiet place to work. Anyway, thank you all. And so I would ask for the board's approval by vote of this designation and plan.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say I would definitely make a motion to support this plan.
I will second it.
Without a doubt. Stone eye.
Hawkins eye.
Keefe, aye.
Thank you.
We got you, Margaret. Don't worry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Let's see. Margaret, do you have any notices of intent to appoint?
I do not have any tonight.
Okay.
That's 3 meetings in a row. I'm on a roll. None tonight.
Well, don't worry. You know that they're all going to come at once. So
that's right. They will. That's how it works.
All right. By chance, are there any FY23 budget process updates and budget request recommended line item approvals?
Yeah. So I have 22 lines that are very, very low hanging fruit tonight, but I wanted to first touch on, I mentioned this in my TA report regarding the local option room tax. What you see before you tonight in the draft, the summary sheet, the budget summary sheet, and the budget summary ladder are very, very preliminary revenue projections. These are going to change, and what they project only from use of local taxes at this point is only a 2.5% increase in the levy used in FY22. It does not include any increase or any FY22 new growth. That is not factored in at all. So this is in an effort to try to mitigate any large increase in the property taxes used. So it's only factoring in the FY22 property taxes used, no new growth in that. Okay. The AFT, again, is going to be meeting this Wednesday. We're going to be talking more about revenue projections. We're going to be going over some more, and they'll continue to be refined. So if the board has your budget sheet in front of you, I'll identify the line item numbers and the amounts that I'm recommending for FY23. And again, these are the very simple ones. First, lines 1 and 2, moderator salary and expenses. These are proposed to be level funded, or they were requested to be level funded, and I recommend that they remain level funded. The moderator is an elected position. He does not want any increase in his salary. He hasn't all along and continues to not request that. The expenses are to provide for his membership in the Mass Moderators Association and any materials he needs to conduct town meeting. Lines 5 and 6, select board consulting and select board expenses. Last year, there was a reduction in the select board expense line to shift funds over to the community social services budget line. So this line covers the cost for postage and office supplies and legal ads and things like that. So that total is $5,250, proposed to be level funding, and I recommend that. For consulting, this covers the cost of Weston and Sampson Engineering to do licensed site professional monitoring for the Maplewood project, but it also includes, which is expected to be done by fall of 2022 now, not fall, it was originally fall of 2021. It is now moved into next year. But this also includes consulting costs for the town's energy consultant, or it could be any other consulting services that we need. There's a small amount in there for that. Under town administrator expenses, this amount was reduced from FY21 to FY22. This covers the cost of office supplies, dues for Mass Municipal Association, Mass managers, Mass human resources, and small town administrators, and my attendance at the Inspector General's Mass Public Purchasing Officer certification and recertification courses. Finance committee expenses is requested, and I recommend to be level funded at 175. This provides funding for them to participate in the Mass Finance Committee Association, Mass Association of Finance Committees. Reserve fund is proposed to be level funded at $95,000. I recommend that it be level funded at $95,000. Line 23, treasurer collector incentive. The town accepted the statute that allows the treasurer collector to receive a $1,000 stipend when he attains treasurer collector certification, and he has done so. Legal expenses. We are well within the budget amount for legal expenses this year. We have been for the past few years. However, unexpected things can occur. So I recommend that this continues to be funded at $50,000 in FY23. It's level funded. Line 35, registration, salary. This is another statutorily required item for the clerk. As the clerk of the registrar of voters, she receives a $100 stipend according to statute. Line 39, Conservation Commission expenses. This is requested to be level funded at the $2,000 amount. I have reviewed historical expenditure history on all of these lines, on all the budget lines. And while last year's Concom expenses didn't reach, I don't think it might've been slightly over $1,000. In prior years, it has approached the $2,000 mark. So I recommend that this be level funded at $2,000. Line 42, Board of Appeals expenses. This is another one that was reduced along with others from FY20 to 21. And this is proposed to be level funded at $500 to cover their basic, their legal ads and their notices to abutters and things like that. Line 43, Agricultural Commission expenses. There is a slight requested increase in this because with the pump that's been put down at the community garden, there is, and light, the electrical in the shed, there is a slight increase due to electricity costs at the garden. The next one is line
agricultural tends to use the money from the fees in the gardens first before they use tax dollars anyway, correct?
No, they don't. They actually use the budgeted line for their expenses. Okay. Yeah. Their fees come back into general fund revenues.
Okay.
Yeah. The next is line 85, Board of Health expenses. This is another item that is requested to be level funded, and I recommend that it remain level funded in FY23 so that they can pay their basic office supply costs. Veterans benefits. This is currently budgeted $11,000. There was a significant increase in FY20. As you know, this is one of those lines that can increase at any given time during a fiscal year. Right now, we are within the budgeted amount. We don't anticipate new beneficiaries in the coming year. So it is proposed to be level funded at $11,000. And again, this is subject to change at any time with the addition of new veteran beneficiaries. Line 95, community social services. This is the line that reflects the increase the board added last year. So this is the wheat assessment plus the additional $3,000 for community, various community services. Line 99, cultural council expenses, the $1,500 level funding. I recommend this. This pays for 3 $500 grants that are awarded by the local cultural council. Line 100, historic commission expenses. This is to cover their basic administrative costs, paper and supplies, essentially. Line 101.
The fire alarm system in the Bullard House, I thought is also covered.
That actually is going to be absorbed under the buildings expenses line. Memorial Day expenses. This $2,000 cost covers the markers and flags for Memorial Day. This is a level funded request. Line 102, festive events expenses. This is also a level funded request. This was significantly reduced back in from FY20 to FY21 with the budget cuts we made. So we have not really tapped into this significantly. So $500 is what I recommend. And then finally, lines 103 and 104. These are non-discretionary costs. This is the cost of the principal and interest on the highway barn. And that's all I have for tonight.
So would you like a motion to approve?
I would love that, please.
So moved.
I will second.
Hey, motion and second. Margaret, as always, thank you for your detail on that. Very appreciated, very easy to follow. Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keefe, aye.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. That's the start.
Before we hop off the budget, and I know that Eric's still in the audience and someone needs to help me with my memory. We were talking about this when Tom was still around regarding markers for fallen Berlin police chiefs for Memorial Day. Don't remember where it landed, what the final thing was. Anybody help on this? I know it got brought up.
It was actually not a police chief. I thought it was just a police officer.
Okay.
And I thought that Tom had ordered it for that one person, and I thought it even had come in because, but I don't
know.
I couldn't tell you where it is. Yep. It's not typically a town expense, but there was one of them. It was like, it wasn't an overly expensive item. And so just throwing it, covering it by the current police budget was doable.
Yeah. All right. If
he has any insight, maybe he could email us or.
Yeah. Eric, if you have any idea what we're talking about, could you let us know? Or if you have no idea what we're talking about, could you also let us know, and we'll do our best to find the information and get back to you.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely well versed in it, and I actually
okay, good.
Text message.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you. Margaret, just as you were going through it, it spurred a memory. So I figured while Eric was still around, we could talk. All right.
Wasn't there discussion on firefighters too? I thought there was something on that.
I don't know. And I think the only reason that it came up is that one of the women of the auxiliary, it was her dad that didn't have a marker. So that's how it kind of came up. I don't know if others in the town, fire or police, I don't know. You know, I don't know if that's something our veterans guy could look into, or
I can run it by Brian or Jim. Okay. We'll do that for both.
All right, cool.
I just got an update from Tom. He ordered them months ago. He said he's surprised they haven't arrived yet.
Oh, well, so I might have to go in Chief Galvin's.
I'll look into that this week.
All right. Eric, maybe it's like the car. Maybe we haven't, no one knows.
I don't know. I just hope the price doesn't go up.
It's sitting in the car. That's why the
right. It's in the car. It's in the trunk. Eric, you got to go pop the trunk and see if the markers are in there.
I know, right?
Cool. All right. Keep us posted. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. skipping down. So Margaret, up is the FY22 Federal Land and Water Conservation Fund application for the Laura acquisition project.
Yes. So I got a request from Maddie Vandenboom, who's actually serving as the town's representative in this application for the Federal Land and Water Conservation Fund grant program. She mentioned that the application requests authorization from the Chief Executive Officer. And she also asked for a letter that she could attach to the application from the Chief Executive Officer. I explained that as town administrator, I'm the Chief Administrative Officer and the Select Board is the Chief Executive Officer of the town. So I told her that I would bring to the Select Board a request that the board authorize Peg as the chair to sign off on this application, acknowledging that Maddie is the town's rep for the application. And we can also draft a letter that Peg could be authorized to sign by the board.
So moved.
I was going to say second.
All righty. Thank you for that. So put it to a vote. Stone aye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
Okay, thank you. And Mary, would you please draft a letter, just draft a brief letter to this effect? Not really sure exactly what it needs to say, but if you could just start on that, that would be great. Thank you.
Yep. And let me know, Mary, I'll swing through one night after work to sign whatever needs to be signed. And I'll bring my own pen. All right, black or blue. All right, so next up is the 1870 Town Hall nonprofit fee waive rentals, failure to abide by agreement and next steps.
You want me to just dive in, Peg, or do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, so this, for the folks in the audience, this came up from Sandra Pendergast, our 1870 Town Hall manager, that there was a recent event that we, the board, waived the fee on for that, but unfortunately, well, there was some stuff left behind that shouldn't have been left behind, and that kind of sat behind for a little bit longer than anticipated. There was no cleanup, which fell on Sandra to take care of. So Margaret, you had mentioned that already in the agreement that there's a line basically saying there's a $50 cleanup fee. And if you don't clean it up, guess what? You owe us the $50.
So my suggestion, and Sandra agreed with this, you know, provided the board does, that nonprofits who use the building be required to submit the refundable $50 cleaning deposit. And if the room being used or the rooms being used are cleaned up, they'll get the $50 back or the check will be shredded. If they don't clean up, it'll be turned over to the town, to the town hall revolving fund.
Sounds good.
So do we need to vote on that?
Yes, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, clean up your trash. Stone eye.
Hawkins, aye.
Keith, aye.
I'm speaking with Sandra this week, and thank you all. I'll speak with Sandra this week, and I'll let her know.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is Coffee Talk coming up in a couple weeks on January 20th. I swear to God that I will like write it somewhere on my forehead that it's at 6:30 and not 7 o'clock. So Scott, thank you for bailing me out like you did last time, where I was a little late to the show. So wanted to talk to you folks about who we're going to invite and what we're going to talk about. Susan Hendry had sent a message out earlier, you know, regarding Coffee Talk and what she needs to bring and who she needs to invite. So I still see her in the audience. So it's perfect that she's here, and Eric's still here. So wanted to open it up as to what the topics will be for potential topics that we will bring to the town to talk about.
I suggest, because the administrative finance team is going to be bringing a draft policy and plan to the board next week on use of ARPA funds, I think it might warrant a community conversation about what the town's priorities are. You know, this could be a big deal, and in order to, you know, assure that everyone is on the same page, it might be worthwhile talking about ARPA on the 20th to the community.
Yeah, definitely, because I don't want people to think that, oh, looky, Berlin got a pot of money, everyone gets some. No, not everyone's going to get something. I'm confident that the task force is going to put together a series of regulations and policies that you need to qualify by 1, 2, 3, 4. And just because there's free money out there, you don't get to ask just for it just because.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
Right. And the board capital planning committee and others have discussed some potential priorities. Now, obviously, one of the things in the policy is going to be to prohibit the use of those funds for any recurring expenditures. I mean, that's just a basic premise, but there'll be funding for various things, and it's going to be important to have that plan in place.
Yeah, and it was, and I'd like to hear from the town, folks in the town too. I mean, they were so generous when we did goals and objectives to write back and ask us to do that. I'd be very curious. I mean, I know that I have a couple kicking around my head and will be, glad to share them either now or in a couple weeks. But again, just for the benefit of the town, if we have some funds available and it will benefit everybody in the town.
Yes.
Let's put it on a list and we'll prioritize and figure out what we can do and how we can do it.
Yes.
All right. So that's one. So then an invite will need to go to June and Dennis. Anybody else? Yeah. Margaret, you're already here.
June, Dennis, Molly. Absolutely. Finance committee, capital planning committee should be invited.
Okay.
And others, right. maybe planning. We had anybody that's been involved in traffic safety advisory and other committees that are looking at. We could just do a blanket invite to all boards and committees. What the heck?
Okay, all right. And I know that in the email that Susan had sent out, she had met with us a couple of weeks ago. I think it was a couple of weeks ago, talking about the elections for that. So definitely have her, and she mentioned a couple other people, come and either do a brief presentation or just, as she did with us, just kind of like talk through it and, field questions from folks in the audience about that.
Yeah.
All right. So Susan, I know you're still out there. We'll definitely include you on the list to talk about school things. For the school board. All right. Eric, is there anything police related that whether it's the signs in town, I mean, traffic and speeding is always one of those that just like COVID never goes away. So I don't know if there's something or anything specific that you can talk about what you and your team are doing in regards to that. I saw the sign coming through Hudson or coming from Hudson today, and I was like, oh, for that. So didn't know if you wanted to come and chat about traffic and speeding and all that other fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. We'd love to come. And I was actually just talking because those speed signs we just got are movable. It's not the easiest thing to move, but we want to come up with like a priority list of where they go next. Like, I don't want to be the one that dictates where they go. I want the people to dictate where they go. Yeah. I want community input to, where we should put these signs. Right now we're concentrating in the center of town through traffic safety advisory committee meeting. The last one we had was attended very well. And there's a strong emphasis for the center of town, and that's why they're there right now. But these things can stay up for 3 weeks and go to the next location. And I'd like to keep them active. We're trying to do it on Wednesdays. That way we stay away from holidays on Mondays and Fridays. Because they do require maintenance and battery changes, which is also something we're in the midst of we're actually going to do this Wednesday. We're going to change the batteries in 2 of the 3 that we put up. I just want community input where they want them.
That would be good.
Yeah,
it might even be nice to have, put on the invitation or flyer or however we advertise, to come say hi to our new police chief.
There you go.
Yes.
Eric, do any of those signs by then, will they have, I know that they're not only used for, hey, slow down, reminders, but is there any other data that, is it too early to ask if any of those signs are getting some of the data that they were intended for?
So I am going to, when we do the battery changes Wednesday, they're all Bluetooth. I'll have the laptop with me, and I'm hoping that they're set up correctly and all the data will be downloaded into the laptop.
Nice.
So updates on that, updates on those signs would be very helpful. As it turns out, the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee will be meeting on the 18th. So maybe Eric, as the chair of the committee, could provide other updates from the meeting. We talk about infrastructure and things like that as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's why one of the reasons why I pushed that meeting off, because I want to make sure I had data to go to that meeting with. And I wasn't going to use between Christmas and New Year's as a solid week of data, because I know traffic was definitely light, but during that week.
So Scott, Chris, anything burning in your minds about what we can talk about? I mean, obviously we open it up, but any folks to come? I mean, is there a need to bring back either Representative Kilcoyne or Representative Senator Cronin? Sorry about that. I know that they're coming next week to us. Is there a need to have them come, or will we just share what they share with us?
Might be a good idea just to share what information or what we share with them, actually, because we may want to share what the needs are for Berlin, and share that we told, John and Meg these things. And, I suppose maybe even if people have other ideas.
Okay. Margaret, do you think that we'd have any preliminary plan from Board of Health or Chief Clark or Victoria in regard to mask
distribution?
Yes. Test delivery?
Yes. I today's only the 3rd. By the 20th, I would think so, yes. That's a good point.
And even the test kits, if you haven't picked up your test kit or
what's the plan? Okay. All right. So there's a couple more folks on the list, Victoria and Chief Clark, and I'm going to assume probably Paul from Board of Health.
And I was going to throw in Fred from Highway on Traffic Safety Advisory and Infrastructure. There you go.
Oh, okay.
See, we're already at 2.5 hours. So.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
That's before anyone in the audience starts asking questions. So.
That's right. That's right. Definitely bring your own pot of coffee. For that, bring your tea. It will be good. And it's turmeric, in case anyone is wondering what's in the cup. Margaret, have you tried it?
I'm after this meeting.
Okay. All right. Because what I'd like to do, based on this, my buddy Janet, the item, I can get this out to her and we can get this in. Maybe we can put it up on the Blinky sign, definitely put it out. I don't know, 19
we have our publication list. Like when we do announcements, we put it in these places. So I would make sure that it gets to all of those.
All right. Well, I would say that's a pretty good start to that, but at least we can give folks, who are thinking of attending some idea of what we're going to be talking about besides the issues that are burning in their head. Okay. All right. That's a big list.
Sounds good.
Anything? I know. Well, you know what? I like having these because again, Chris, it kind of gets back to your point, and I know it's tough, if you don't have internet access or you're not extremely savvy with that. But if people know about it, we can do, we can definitely do something on this and then get it out. All right. Yeah. Any other?
You might even want to do the tentative list that we just put together.
Yeah.
And give it to Jan and see if she can get it in the item as soon as,
Yeah, she can. All right. So today's the 3rd. I'm sure she can, if I get it to her I don't want her to put it in this week because we miss a
Right.
week. So I'll see if she can drop it sometime next week for the 14th,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
that'll be closer to the event. Okay. All right.
And
I'll
then
reach out
blinking
to her.
signs will remind people
Right.
shortly before.
That is correct.
Right.
I wonder if Fred will give me access to the blinky sign. Dave never did. I wonder why.
So I suggest with this number of items that we do put kind of a timeline for each
Yep.
item to make sure that we're not there all night, but
So
Can
do you want to do like 20 minutes each?
can
Is there
Peggy,
a
and
specific
you,
order?
I was just going to say, why don't you guys figure it out at agenda setting?
Okay.
sure, yes.
Okay. All right. Then we'll swirl it back around. All right.
Right, can I just chime in for 1 second on those markers?
Mhm.
All right, so July 27th, we got an email from the company, Z Flags, saying they were 10 weeks out. They have not arrived yet, but I did send them an email just now asking for status on the order.
Berlin's jinxed.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
no,
not
I think
just us.
everyone is.
I ordered some equipment to upgrade our training center at my office in May that they had a July install that they started the install yesterday or today.
It's everywhere.
It's not Tuesday yet. So
Yeah.
today they started this.
It's happening
Right.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just not us. All right. Margaret, I'll put something together and I'll zip it up on the draft agenda that we can talk about on Thursday.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. So next up is a preliminary discussion on the DLS financial management review. Thank you, Margaret, for sending that around. Definitely some interesting reading.
Mhm.
Yes. I actually appreciated the first part of the review. I thought that it gave some really good, factual information on Berlin, some financial facts. And I thought that part was well done.
Yeah. I mean, there's quite a few recommendations that were there, and then I looked at the addendum, and there's some stuff that are in progress. But I'm wondering if there's any like quick low hanging fruit,
Yeah.
that we can just snap off and take off, and then we'll have to figure out priorities and who and deadlines, because we don't want this to drop. Scott, I think this gets to a point that you made last week about increasing efficiencies and reducing redundancies in town. What I did notice is that in a couple places it just said, well, the current department does blah, blah, blah. So we just think that we should give it to this department. And I'm thinking, well, that doesn't really solve. It just pushes the sand pile. Yeah.
There are at least four very low hanging fruit. But again, we as a team just saw this last week and have just started to discuss it ourselves. So I'm just going to note a couple of things. First of all, on special articles, the town has a history of bringing special articles to town meeting to close them out. The DLS recommends that this be done administratively. This would obviously take away any kind of time needed to prepare warrant articles, motions, and votes at town meeting itself. That would be a very easy, low-hanging fruit item. The next is audits.
Margaret,
Yeah.
doing that requires, what change is required? So what makes us have to go to town meeting to close them out? Why can't we do it administratively?
It can
right
be
now?
done administratively, and that's what they've recommended. And we could start doing this immediately, administratively. So this would require just a very basic policy to say that, the accountant shall receive confirmation, and June, I don't want to speak to you. Confirmation shall be received from the body or official who had custody of those funds from town meeting. Once that's received, the accountant shall close out the special account. It's really.
Yep. I think June has I think it could piggyback in the process June does at the end of the year anyway, which talks about, what funds do you have left in your expense funds, what needs to be encumbered, and what outstanding bills you have. Could also say, and these are the warrant articles in your department, which one of these can we close out?
Yeah. If you don't mind, I'm just going to promote June and Dennis in case they have anything to add. I don't want to speak for them individually. So, hi, Dennis.
Hello.
Oh. All right, so the next thing, so the closing out special articles, that should be fairly straightforward, and our team will be discussing that more this week. The next one is the IFB invitation for bids for audit services. So they've recommended that we solicit bids or we issue an IFB for audit services for FY23, and we will absolutely do that. That is, it's a good financial practice, and it's something that we will do. My expectation, I think they usually wrap up the audit in about March, thereabouts. So as soon as our auditor wraps up the FY22 audit, the FY21 audit, then we will issue the IFB. The next one is on pages 9 and 10, number 6, Solomon Pond Mall open space mitigation payment. Now, we've taken care of the public safety transitional mitigation payments, but this is the last one that the town will need to address. June, how many years remain on this particular? Is it about 8 years left?
I was thinking that it was 8 years, but I'm not 100% certain. I'd have to take a look, see.
So the DLS maintains that this money is general fund revenue, and where we have already received the FY22 payment from the Solomon Pond Mall, the team, and again, we're going to discuss this more this week, but I think we're leaning toward recommending that it take the path DLS recommends beginning next fiscal year and for future fiscal years to make sure that it's clean. Then there's another one. The recommendation number 7 is a general recommendation on regionalization efforts. We're not doing too bad on regionalization initiatives, especially where we have the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission advocating and working for us. We already, some of the most recent ones we did, we got the bucket truck. We joined the Assabet Regional Housing Consortium. We belong to the Neshoba Regional Associated Boards of Health and the Neshoba Dispatch District. So we just need to commit to continuing our regionalization efforts and utilize CMRPC as much as possible. What was the other really low hanging, June, what was it?
5.
Reserve fund transfers.
Oh, that's easy.
Number 5.
Yeah.
Okay, number 5. Okay, yeah, that one's easy.
It was so easy we skipped over it because I think we were headed that general direction anyway. So
I skipped right over it. I had circled the others, but yeah. So there's a number of them that would be really, really easy to accomplish. Others are going to take time. Others, there was one in particular. It was item number
9.
9.
If I'm reading your brain. If I'm reading your brain, I think it's 9.
That's 10. What I was thinking too.
10. It's item 10.
Oh, 10. Yes, 10 as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I'm opposed. I'm opposed to this actually because the act, our act references the personnel committee, and I just think that they are an invaluable resource and partner with me.
I think any outside consultant that reviews systems and comes up with a dozen plus recommendations, I think we are successful as a town if we implement 6 or 7 of them, because some will fall off our radar and we'll forget about, even though it's the right idea and the right thing to do, and some we just generally don't want to do for sometimes really good reasons. I think in addition to the low-hanging fruit, I think if the administrative finance team could help prioritize among the others that we want to do that take a little bit of effort. Some of the things you are, again, already underway, which is the centralization of the personnel funds, some improved processes for the movement of payroll data. And I think we can implement some of them. I don't think we have to implement them like letter for letter. I think there are some things they did interview people, but they're not here day to day, and so there's some nuances they might have missed. But I think finding 2 or 3 to try to pound out in the next year, and what extra resources, if it takes extra resources to get us to the end, because some of them do involve some change. Some of that change period will be less efficient. But we have to, how do we get to the other side of that mountain?
Right. Yep.
I mean, especially all the stuff with Vadar. I mean, Dennis, that's like a heavy lift on you and your team. So it's almost like, here's Vadar, you know, now within that, what do we want to do? What's the priority? You know, if you think, you know, systematically, I have to do this one before I can do this one, before I can do this one, before I can do this one. So, you know, that's going to take some time. And then all the policies, we all know how much fun it is to write and review and edit policies.
Very important.
Extremely important. So you know what? We find the ones that are, you know, lacking the most. And that's something, you know, Dennis, Molly, June, that's where your experience comes in. You ask me, I'll be like, 3, I don't know. So that's something that we're going to have to rely heavily on you guys, you know, to come back and say, blah, blah, blah. I mean, Chris is the queen of editing. You know, she can find all the fun stuff. So that's taken care of.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, but definitely rely on you guys for content and priority and timing. You know, you only have so many hours in a day for that. So, you know, what could kind of sort of slide to make this kind of sort of go up. So again, that's all on you guys. That we're going to rely, you know, to wait to hear back from you on you can do, but we can't do, but we, you know, can do. Yeah. I mean, it was a good report. I mean, it's probably,
yeah, the financial policy templates they provided, I think are, you know, are a really good start. We do have an assortment that we need to look through and tweak to Berlin. And I think it's pretty good.
You know, so Margaret, maybe what we do, not on the next meeting, but maybe the meeting after, we put this back up, and that will give all of us some time to really read through it. Cause I know that I did a pretty quick cursory read on it and just looked for the Reader's Digest version, the highlights, you know, so kind of come back after you guys have had a chance to meet and we've had time to reread to say, hey, you know what, I found another low hanging fruit, or holy moly, you know, I'm reading this one. Is this what it really says? What is going to be the time impact? What can we do? And who do we need, you know, to pull this off?
Right.
Okay.
I have some concerns, not the right word. I have concern about the process dealing with number 11, which is reevaluating the policy of providing insurance benefits to part-time elected officials. And that because all 3 of the select boards members are in that bucket, that we could qualify for health insurance currently.
That's right.
That whether or not how do we discuss and vote on that without it being a conflict of interest on our part? Because if none of us can vote on it, then it would be interesting to try to get a vote one way or the other.
Well, I think actually Chris had looked into that when she called the Ethics Commission about this. I think where a quorum of the board are not beneficiaries, are not subscribers.
We're not subscribers. We could be subscribers, and so you know, it's although I'm not a current subscriber, what could happen is that we could decide that, like, oh, I'm going to leave my job and go do some consulting work because I can get insurance from the town. You know, that's so because it's a benefit. Just because I'm not availing myself of the benefit doesn't mean that I don't have a financial interest in whether or not this benefit exists.
Yeah, it's a good point, and I can try calling the Ethics Commission on behalf of the board. We'll see if they talk to me. Usually they'll talk to individuals who, you know, who are calling on their own behalf. But if I can get a simple answer from the Ethics Commission, this could be deemed a rule of necessity. I mean, someone has to have the authority to vote on it. So
maybe you and I could both call.
With Margaret out, June, you're it. Not it.
Because this to me is the one that has some of the biggest fiscal impacts. I mean, some of the others are some efficiency stuff, but even if we made suddenly somehow one of these changes made a massive efficiency improvement in the treasurer's and accountant's office, there's a lot of work they're not getting to because we don't staff them enough and don't give enough money to do it. So it's not like there will suddenly be people disappearing. And so if there's anything on this that has any real impact to, you know, taxpayers and future growth of expenses, it's number 11 here. And I think and this is a policy issue. I don't think it as much is up to the treasurer, tax collector, financial. I really think this is a policy thing. Now, this is clearly a select board policy issue.
Ms. June?
Yeah, I was just curious, would this actually be a policy, or would this have to actually go to town meeting to be voted on?
This is a policy, a board policy. Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking that it had to be like voted on, that it couldn't just be done internally.
Select board. I think she references case law in the thing.
Well, Margaret, if you call ethics, can I like join the call or something?
Sure.
Sort of.
Yeah, I don't see why not. We can talk about it and see if we can both get on a call with them. Okay.
All right.
If you need, Scott or I to call because we're not currently taking the benefits, but we could take the benefits, to ask Margaret if they don't talk to you, then just let me know. I'll call them.
I've tried calling them before on behalf of other bodies. Oh no, we're only going to talk to, the individual, because ethics applies to an individual.
So, okay. It's kind of like when school committee used to have to vote on increasing lunch prices when you had your own children in that school. And, I guess it depends on who you talk to.
All right. So we'll plop it on for a couple weeks from tonight and, see what else is coming up for us to talk about and think about. I mean, but to Scott's point, if we can pick off, 5 of the low-hanging fruit, we're already halfway there. So then you're really going to start getting into the heavy hitters, the personnel files, they're underway. That might be kind of sort of a low-hanging fruit, so now we're at 6.
God, 9 was another low-hanging fruit. Okay.
Yeah. So, we're getting there, to that. And again, increase efficiencies, reduce redundancies. Yep. If we can do it, let's do it. But if it's a giant time suck and all of a sudden, we're going to lose Dennis for a week because he's going to hole himself up somewhere, down in the belly of the building, writing a policy, probably not a good choice.
Okay, so on January 24th, the AFT can come back with updates on the reviews.
Cool. Excellent. And then we get to see June and Dennis and Molly again, because we never.
That's right.
I see all their cars as I go whizzing by the town offices, but don't see them. Okay. All right. Well,
you mean slowly driving by, right? Because Eric's still with us somewhere? Or?
Well, no, because the sign is actually in the center of town. So by the time I get to the center of town,
but again,
Eric's still.
We would never go above the posted speed limit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Got you, June. Yes. As I slowly drive by, well within the speed limit for the 23.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. I gotcha. All right. So we will see you guys back in a couple of weeks. How cool will that be? All right.
Very cool.
Thank you so much. Again, appreciate all of you and the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Dennis, Molly, and June.
All right. So we are down to board questions and comments, liaison updates. So what you got?
After I sent you the suggested changes for the annual town report, I found one that I should have caught before. There is a C in Shartner.
Okay.
S-C-H.
I think that would be a bit of a black mark on my side to spell Eric's name incorrectly.
Well, I should have known because I think it did have like a little jagged red line under it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
is there anything major missing? I mean, I went through and again, Kristen, I'm sure that you ran into this last year. You know, you want to talk about, oh, that's not us. Oh, you want, yeah, no, that's not us either. So it was hard to go through and just find like our stuff, you know, that we pushed through, or that we wrote or we did and stuff like that. So
did you look at agendas, or did you look, what did you look at?
I looked at Margaret's stuff. Mary was kind enough to like bundle everything up on all the minutes. So I went through those as well. I went through some of my articles that I had written for the item, you know, trying to find things as well. I wanted it to be detailed, but I didn't want to take up 85 pages in the town report either. So I don't know what 4 pages of single space, normal margin in a Word file translate into, you know, when, well, I mean, Laurie gets this, you know, so I didn't know.
Just ask yourself as you read through it again, you know, is this, you know, select board? Did we?
Well, I also would look at like, is this more appropriate in some other report? Like, so I think our appointing of department heads covers, but I think appointments and hirings inside departments are covered in that department's report.
Could be, yeah.
And
because I keep trying to think of like, how does this get down to 500 words?
And then Margaret, I think if you're going to write a report, Margaret, I mean, you and Peg should probably talk about, you know, what is she, if she's going to cover that, then you don't have to cover it, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, because I suggested, you know, with the TA appointments, I could put those for employees. I could just mention or give a list of appointments that I've made, and the departments themselves could expand on that. You know, as far as position and things like that. So
I mean, so that reduces, I don't know, 5 paragraphs. Yeah. You know, it's like this much. It's, you know, highway and rec and energy and blah, blah, blah. So I could just make one line to say, hey, read everybody's department updates for see who's new or coming back, you know, on a committee.
Well, I hate to say it, but and never mind. I don't hate to say anything. So there was one, I made a correction that wasn't a full correction. So Earth Day is capital E, capital D. Okay. So I had put a correction, just I didn't capitalize the D.
All right. Okay. All right, I'll go back through, and it's due, well, next week. So I'll work on it this week.
Is it due next week?
Well, I think Mary had popped it on the agenda for the 10th, so we might be a wee bit early.
January 31st.
Because it has to be finalized by the 31st.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be bad for us to set a tone that get it in a little bit early.
Correct.
If the select board can do this 6-page report, you can do your 2-page, 1-pager.
That's right. And we all know how wordy the chair can be. So absolutely. All right. Anything else for updates?
I think Mary has her.
But you also have coffee talk, so you have some delay built in. Right? There's no meeting the week of coffee talk.
We don't have a meeting that week, right?
Unless you change your mind.
No.
You'll next meet on the 24th. The 24th.
Yeah. So we'll meet on the 10th. So we'll meet next Monday. Nothing the week after. And then the 24th. Okay.
Well, all right. Coffee talk.
Right. Coffee talk, but not a Monday.
Right.
Isn't that Martin Luther King Jr. Day too?
17th. Yep, that is. So if we met, we would have met on Tuesday anyway.
All right. Margaret, something had come through on the community garden application. Do we need to do anything about that?
Next
I asked. Agenda. That was another piece of correspondence. That's on the next agenda, right?
Okay.
I just want the board. I'd like the board to ratify the non-Berlin resident garden fees.
Okay. All right. And then the only thing that I shared with you guys on conservation, a resident had gotten in touch with me. They were walking Mount Pisgah, and there was a sign that basically said, you know, don't do anything to the trails. Violators will be prosecuted. And it had the town of Berlin symbol on it. And I was like, conservation said they didn't do it. They didn't put the signs up. They have no idea where the signs came from. Carolyn had mentioned that Walter and their potential new person, Kyle Tucker, would be roaming the trails. I let them know where 2 of them were, but I don't know if they exist elsewhere on any conservation land in Berlin. I was, you know, the resident was just concerned about, oh, so you're telling me that if there's a branch across the trail and I need to pick it up to get by it, or, you know, my horse, if there's a branch leaning down and I got to do this to get by, that if I move it, you're going to come after me. And I'm like, I'm not.
So I guess it needs to be noted, you know, not to be a stickler, but using the town's seal without the town's permission is actually prohibited by law. So it's just, I mean, this is more informational for people out there, just so they know you can't just use the town seal. It is an official town seal, and there needs to be permission granted by the board to be able to use the seal.
Yeah, because that was the question. The first question I got from the resident was, show me in the town bylaws where this is. I'm like, I can't. So, okay. So hopefully those signs will disappear. Hopefully never to return again, but that is all I have. Scott, Chris, anything?
No, I have several meetings this week, so I probably have things to report next week.
That was what I was going to ask, is if Scott could be on the agenda to tell us what happens at the historical.
Scott, do you want a formal agenda, a formal spot, or you just want to bring it up on our regular
I'll do it. I'll do it at our regular spot.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just so we don't forget. That was why I wrote it down.
All right, so you pull my agenda back up. So seeing that we are done with board's questions, comments, and liaison updates, there is a need for executive session tonight. The board will enter executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, review approval of prior executive session meetings, and we will adjourn from that meeting.
I gotta find that link.
I was just going to say, I don't know.
I think it's in an email.
I sent it by email. I could resend it as soon as I find it. Okay.
Okay, we'll see you folks.
I'll see you in a minute.
Well,
Okay.
Oh, so we have to vote. We have to vote. We have to vote.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, here I am jumping again.
All right. Stone eye.
Hawkins eye.
Chief eye.
Thank you all. See you 3 in a minute.
See.